Just go. I should begin, right? So, you want to be a student actor. Strange combination of words, isn't it? Student actor. I didn't say film student. I didn't say theater student or acting student, but a student actor. There's a dash in there somewhere. Huh? What did you say, Latrell? What is a student actor? Well, I'm going to put some definitions on the board for you. A film student, a theater student, and an acting student. Well, these are all, well, technically an acting student is a generalized term. If you attend a university or you could specialize in, film acting or theater acting. I go to the University of Tennessee, and at the University of Tennessee, you could specialize in either one. I think it may depend on where you go, but I don't think so. You can also be a theater student, acting student, however so, in a conservatory or a drama school, depending on where you go and if they have some specializations. I'm not too sure if it's school by school or if it's just depending on if that's just a generalized thing. But either way, I know for my university at least, you specialize in what your interest is. Because there is a difference between theater acting and film acting. With theater acting, things are a lot more visual. You move a lot more. Your entire stage is the canvas. With film and TV acting, you really kind of stay in one place. But you may move around the scene a little bit. And then also a film student, an acting student, a theater student, however you are, your designation. Generally, you're at an accredited school. Again, those type of schools in pursuit of a degree of some sort. Normally a BFA or bachelor's in performing arts or bachelor's in theaters, and whatever your student provides or your college provides, but usually a BFA. And then you have your student actors. Now, a student actor, that's I separate it. So a student and an actor, they're two separate terms. A student, you go to a university, or you might be a high school student, and I'll go back to that later. But for now, at least, let's say you graduated high school and you're going to university and you've attended for some time, and let's say a string of events happened and now suddenly you're interested in acting, or it just kind of fell into your lap. For example, what I hear a lot is a lot of agencies, if you're in a smaller town, agencies will have their own advertising in malls, and not legitimate agencies, sometimes not so legitimate, so be very careful. But my story, at least, was my friend Parker Helton. He hounded me almost for months to go to this local acting agency called Gage's Talent and Modeling Agency, and eventually I went. I auditioned for them. Normally for an agency, if you want to be in the roster, they may bring you in for an audition. They may have open auditions. I don't hear that too often. Normally, if you're in a bigger city, there's only 3 of those: Atlanta, LA, and New York. Then you submit to the acting agency. Now, the way you submit is going to be different depending on the agency itself. Some of them, if you have a referral, they may see you in person. Others, they may just ask you to send in a demo reel and a monologue. I'm sorry, a demo reel and a resume, and they may contact you in some ways following that. It's different for each one, but for this agency, I went in, auditioned, and they come back the next day and they liked me. And so, prior to this, I was, just a normal student under aerospace engineering program. And everything's kind of changing, because now I'm taking acting classes. Now I'm going and I'm seeing the agent and I'm talking about, the prospects of future in acting, what I'm looking at and things like that. So it's a big change, because it's really sudden and you don't really know how to adjust to it. So the video is, well, first of all, again, how to be that, and then how to adjust to it. And then the third thing I'm going to go over is how to be consistent. So again, how do you be that? So you can start acting in any way, shape, or form. There's a ton of videos about that. But again, I'm kind of really focusing on student acting. How do you maintain your studies as a normal student in a university? Let's say you're studying microbiology or aerospace like I am, or some other major, but you also want to do acting on the side. You can see yourself doing this professionally. How do you start without, completely uprooting your life? Now, if you decide to, if let's say you graduate from high school and you want, you're directly going into a university for film, to study acting for theater, your path is kind of going to be laid out by your extracurriculum. Now, some universities or some schools of performing arts You may not be able to do as much extracurricular in terms of like acting for programs and things like that, unless you're a really, really big school for that. Now, for the University of Tennessee, we actually have a really big theater program, so they encourage your students to perform in those. But for smaller schools, you may not have that opportunity. I digress because I like to wander and ponder and think too much. But you guys came in for the good stuff, so let me give that to you. Step one is find your starting point. It's a very tenacious and very grinding career that you're getting yourself into, even if it's just as a hobby. So first of all, I applaud you for you trying your work at it, and I wish you the best of luck. But find your starting point. So where are you starting? Do you have classes? Do you not have classes? Does your university offer you classes? That's a very big thing as well. So again, a student actor. I was a student before I was an actor. How do you get classes? So if you're in a smaller city, maybe your agency may offer you classes. Now, typically, you don't want to pay. I mean, honestly, you never want to pay an agency to sponsor you, to represent you, or anything like that. They get money from what you do. But some agencies will offer classes, especially in the smaller cities where classes may not be available, but understand what you're paying for. It's very different from, actually signing with the agency. For example, I'm in Knoxville, Tennessee. The only classes that are provided very close to me are with my university. In the outside of that, you have to travel 4 hours to North Carolina or 3.5 hours down to Atlanta for classes. So the agency offering those classes isn't too unusual for me, at least. Long story short, be careful spending money, anything attached to an agency. Only small markets really should have an agency that offers classes with you. Bigger markets, they don't. Your agencies don't consider you a project. You should be a product. So you should be fully, if you submit to an agent, you should have classes, resumes, things like that. In bigger markets, they normally won't fool with you if you don't have those things. So just make sure you know where you are, make sure you understand the differences, and be very safe spending your money, guys, because it's an expensive, career already. You spend money on classes, you're spending hundreds of dollars. You got to get a headshot, hundreds of dollars. You have to travel. When you first start acting, if you're in a smaller location, you have to travel. So you have to take care of gas. You may have to take care of a flight. So have money saved up for these things if you're wanting to do these things. For me, I'm not far. I'm in Knoxville, Tennessee. That's about 3.5 hours away from Atlanta. But I always look for a couple things when I'm submitting for stuff. Is there any type of transportation taken care of? Per diems, outside of the base fees. And most times when you're starting out, you're gonna have to, take the bullet, bite the bullet. You need to get credits on your resumes, because your resumes, you submit those to casting directors, you submit those to agencies so they can see what you've done so far. So you need to have something to give them. Agencies won't take you as a fixer-upper. They take you as a product, and hopefully a finished product. So be a finished product. Have the demo reel, have the resume, have whatever you need, the professionalism. Take classes. Classes are very, very, very important. That should be your step one. If you had to skip a couple steps, if you got an agency and you took your classes, but generally, even small time agencies, they want you to take classes, and they may offer classes, but you need classes. You network with people in your classes, other actors. Occasionally, if you're taking studio classes in a bigger location like Atlanta, LA, New York, occasionally casting directors will be invited to classes if you guys are doing performances and things like that, and they'll just watch you. And then also, if you're in high school and you're doing this acting thing, join your theater or your drama program. You guys will be doing classes. You learn about acting, the history of it, techniques, so on and so forth. Get active in the community, so you can do stuff, so you can add to your resume, so you can be a better actor. I'm gonna go more in depth with resumes and things like that, because there are videos for that. Your normal job resume is not the exact same as your acting resume. They're two different things. You don't put the same things on either one unless you're fluffing no, you don't do that. But I'm not gonna go into it. There are other videos for that. I might go into it in another video, but not for this video. But I mean, if you're just starting out, then you're not at the point where these things are important to you. For now, take classes. Next, I want to talk about adjusting to your lifestyle. So what do I mean by that? So as an acting student, again, you were already a student at something else, and now you want to do acting, or you're doing acting, and you're trying to figure out how can you adjust. And by this point, step 2, you should have already started taking classes and things like that. And maybe you're talking to some people about agencies, but you're trying to keep both things afloat, and you have to be very careful because you're really treading on thin ice. So what I mean by this is when I was approaching the end of my classes with the agency and I was going to sign, I very much noticed that my performance in school was slacking off. I was also doing 3 different things. I was at school full-time, I was working a job part-time, so about 20 hours or 50 hours a week, and then I did acting, and I go to acting classes. They're not very long. They might be about 3 hours, which is kind of long, but not really compared to everything else I had to do. So it was a lot of stuff on the plate. And as the date for my signing with the agency came closer and closer and closer, I started questioning a couple of things. One, should I go ahead and quit the job before my acting took off? Before I signed with the agency. 2, well, actually, it was just one question. Should I quit the job beforehand? But things don't move that fast. So when you initially sign with your agency, depending on where you are, if you are in a bigger market, then you may be getting jobs as soon as possible. Because if you sign with an agency in a bigger market, you have a resume, you have a demo reel, and you have experience and credits under your belt that boost you. So they will immediately start submitting you for things. If you're in a smaller market, that's not the case. It may take them time to submit you for stuff, but you'll start getting responses pretty soon. But just be kind of mindful of that. And so there was no really need to panic about, oh, the job is going to change and things like that, because it wasn't. It took time for everything to adjust. And I'm still not at that point yet. Only this previous weekend that I received really, I received 2 auditions for a commercial, 1 audition for a YouTube series, and 1 audition for a social media shoot, which I get pretty often in smaller markets, social media shoots. Nothing comes immediately fast. So make sure you maintain your academics, because depending on your outlook of it, and I've seen this, is you may view acting and the fact that you're now an actor as this, fantasy come true, this big old highlight. But remember, guys, it's still a career, and it's a very rocky career path. So don't put all your eggs in one basket. Take care of your school, stay at the job, just work less hours. But do understand that now that you are an actor, and if you have an agency, you're gonna get availability checks within a very short amount of time, sometimes within a day, sometimes within 2 days. I've gotten a week at most, but not enough turnaround for your normal job to be like, oh yeah, that's fine, you can take this day off. Like, I work as a community ambassador, so what that means is I sell apartments, and I have a very flexible time. So I could have something set on the schedule and still be like, hey, I won't be available for this. Can you get someone else to take it over, or whatever like that? And they'll work with that. So you need something flexible. And then again, just believe in yourself. I mean, you can take classes, and your acting classes, your normal university classes, or your high school classes, and your job all at the same time, and still be fun. Just don't let any one of those slack as possible. Stay hard, stay well, you'll do great. And that's gonna bring us to our next step, which is, okay, so staying consistent, the very last step, and the hardest step. Now that means follow up with step 2, staying consistent with your work, staying consistent with your schoolwork, day job, acting. Stay consistent. You should be looking at Facebook groups near you for acting to see what people are offering, what things are being offered in your area. You should be looking on Actors Access. Make an Actors Access account, make a Backstage account, make a Casting Networks account. I really use Actors Access and Backstage. Those are pretty big things in my area, so I use those a lot. But I'm trying to use Casting Networks as well. I just don't always get around to signing up for that. But Those two take care of me very well. But you need something. Your age, even if you have an agency, your agency will submit you for stuff, but you should still be submitting yourself for stuff to build those relationships. So stay consistent, stay building, stay submitting, take care of your work, take care of your health, take care of your schooling. You can still be a student and be an actor. You don't have to pick and choose. You can do either or. You only pick the acting when you only pick the acting when the schooling is too much. I'm getting confused. No, you only pick the acting over the schooling when your acting is booking you a lot. Like financially a lot. And then you can put school on hiatus while you're doing all that and then come back to school later on. You don't have to, sabotage yourself in the middle of a summer because because you're dumb. You don't gotta do that. Don't do that. Please don't do that. And then also, you want to stay consistent with everything because not everything will really be consistent with you. So what I mean by that is, even with an agency, you might go days, weeks, months, hopefully not months and hopefully not weeks without hearing anything from, your agent. But also, you don't hear everything back from your auditions either. I've submitted for hundreds of things and I've only heard back from maybe 20% of them, maybe less than that. So you don't put all your eggs in a basket again. You consistently submit for casting. You consistently go to your day job, save money for your travel expenses and your classes, which you have to take. And you consistently take care of your schoolwork. Again, no eggs in all your baskets. And I'll leave you with one final note. I wish you the best of luck. It's a very, very difficult, confusing, and interesting, and I love it. I love it so much. And if you just take care of yourself and you take care of the work and you put in the work, you'll see the results. Give it time, be patient, nothing happens tonight. But I ramble, so I'll leave this video on that. I wish you luck. And a final bit of advice. Your starting point is your starting point. Everyone starts differently. So don't compare where you are to where someone else is at the same age group, because there's no point. They didn't start what you started with. You didn't start what they started with. But you can start now. So you should start now. And I'll start releasing videos every week from now. Every week. If you have any questions, I'm going to attach my Instagram somewhere in here. Message me on Instagram. And specific questions, you can leave comments in the description. I'll respond to those as well. But again, guys, I hope to see you next time and be good. Bye-bye.